Hey guys, welcome to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the urgent warning to Americans, investors, and your money. Get ready, right? Guys, when you come in, let me know that you can hear me okay. My audio's coming through with clarity. And we're going to be talking about the possible potential U.S. government shutdown. And this is my urgent warning to Americans. I'm going to give you a rundown of what's taking place. I'm going to give you a rundown of where we are right now. And if you can hear me, let me know you can hear me in the chat if you can, all right? So this is my urgent warning, guys, to investors, to Americans, to say, hey, what is going on, and how is this going to affect our money and our lives, right? I want to also talk about a little bit about the stock market and investors in terms of investing, and in the second half of this live that we're doing here, guys, because I want to tie all this into what we should be thinking about in terms of our money. And I think it's really important, guys. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. Thank you, Willis. I appreciate you giving me a thumbs up. Yeah, I just went out and got another mic, guys. So that's why I want to test the mic and see if we're all hooked in terms of audio-wise. So we're going to get into quite a few things here, guys. We're going to get into some details about what's going on with the possible U.S. government shutdown, what could happen, what may happen. Then we're going to talk about, again, as I said, we're going to talk about the stock market and what we should be doing as investors. As you come in, guys, let me know where you checking in from, what country, what city, what state. Give me an idea of where you're from, and let me know, will this possible government shutdown affect you, or will it not affect you? And if you don't care, say I don't care in the comments as well. I'm just getting an idea of where we are in terms of who's in the audience, guys. Where you're at. Willis is in KC. Fantastic. Ms. Vaughn is in Indiana. Great. Good to have you guys. All right. Shout out to Brandon in Houston. And we got some Charlotte, North Carolina in here as well. Fantastic. Liverpool up in the UK. Fantastic. All the way overseas. Good to have you. We got Take a Leap in Kansas, and we got Tara checking in from the great state, the mountainous state of Colorado. Of course, Arkansas is in the house. Atlanta, and you said it's both of you guys. Pamela said both her and her spouse are federal employees. So if you're a federal employee, this could affect you. But even if you're not a federal employee, this possible government shutdown might affect you as well. ATL checking in again, said someone else, looks like Brina, says that, yes, it will affect me. Hopefully not like 2013. Yeah, 2013 was interesting. Nashville checking in all the way from Atlanta, by way of Atlanta and Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Virginia's in the house. Palm Beach, Florida is here. Not worried about it. Fantastic. Just taking advice. Going to ride it out. Good job, RC. I appreciate that. Appreciate you guys being here and checking in. Let me know where you're from. Let me just say a couple things before we dig deep, because we're going to go pretty deep about what this thing's about. Before we go deep, just tell you guys, in the description box, there's the 24 laws of money that is free for anybody. Just for being a part of this broadcast, feel free to go on YouTube in the description box. Click on the 24 laws of money. They're yours. I'm just giving it away. Also, share the link to this video because we're going to be going into some detail here. And smash the like button as you come in for me, right? The more people that smash the like button, that sends a signal to YouTube that this is a video that other people should check out, and it gets recommended to more and more people. So let's jump into it, guys. Let's see if we got anything else in there. Good. Memphis checking in. Fantastic. Virginia Beach. Fantastic. All right, so let's first talk about this, guys. What is a government shutdown, and what are these appropriation bills, right? So a shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass some type of funding legislation that's ultimately going to be signed into law by the president. Lawmakers, now when you hear the term lawmakers on TV, when you're watching the news, lawmakers just means the Congress, okay? The legislative branch. That's the House and the Senate. That's who our lawmakers are. Because if you remember from high school history or high school government class, right? Legislative makes the laws and executive executes the laws, right? So the legislative branch is the lawmakers. That's the House and the Senate. And they're supposed to pass some funding legislation every single year before the start of the new fiscal year. And if you didn't know, the new fiscal year for federal government starts October 1st, ends September 30th every year. Okay. That's the start of the fiscal year. So this October 1st is the start of a new fiscal year. Every single year before the fiscal year starts, according to federal law, 12 different spending bills need to be funded, right, across different government agencies. Now, when we say 12 different, it doesn't affect every single human being that works for the federal government. That doesn't mean every single federal government worker is not going to go to work the following Monday. That's not really what it means, guys. These 12 bills, funding bills that need to be funded and appropriated are called appropriation bills because they're appropriated to certain things. They make sure money is going to certain places. So you have the Department of Energy, also the U.S. Army Corps, the waterways throughout the whole country. They're going to be affected. The Department of Commerce and the Department of Justice, including NASA, will be affected. Employees at USDA Agriculture will be affected. Now, not all the employees at every single one of these agencies, but a lot of them. DOD, obviously, Department of Defense, military and national defense, they're going to be affected. The Department of Treasury, Homeland Security, DOI, which is Department of Interior. Then, of course, I don't know if I mentioned EPA or not. I'm just looking at a list of them over here, guys, up here. Okay, Education, Department of Education, Health and Human Services, and parts of the legislative branch. Now, when I say parts of the legislative branch, we know that all the members of the House and all the members of the Senate are going to still be paid even when the government shuts down. They're going to still be working and be paid. And then, of course, you got your TSA, your transportation, and as well as HUD. I think HUD is in there. Yeah, HUD is in there. So all these bills have to get passed. These are like 12 separate appropriation or funding bills that have to get passed every single year. And it's been set up like that since about 1977, 76. If some of the 12 are passed, but not all of them, then we have what we had back in 2018-19. We have what we call a partial shutdown. If, let's say, 6 out of those 12 funding bills get funded and get agreed to and approved by Congress, then we have a partial shutdown. Otherwise, if none of them get done, we have a full-blown, full shutdown of the federal government. Now, that's something to think about. Right now, where we are right now is not any of them. None of them have been funded. None of the 12 appropriation bills have passed. So that's why you keep hearing on the news or whatever, we're headed to a full government shutdown. Except, again, some of these entities will still be up. If you're considered essential or whatever the word may be, then you're going to be still working at this point and still involved in what you do in terms of the federal government. You won't get paid, or you may not get paid, but you still have to go and report to work. Now, as you guys may or may not know, it sounds like I'm giving you a government lesson, but sometimes we got to figure this stuff out, right? In order to actually know what's going on, we hear all this language on TV or on social media, but sometimes we just don't quite know what does all this mean, right? Speaker of the House, who are these people? But the House is controlled right now, guys, by the Republicans, and the Senate is controlled by the Democratic Party. Okay, so you got each, and then any bill has to be approved by both, right? So the House and Senate produce their own appropriation bills to fund the government, so you guys know. And these bills are marked up and amended, and, everything is changed and moved and put this there, put that there. And these approved appropriation committees that are in each House and Senate, they approve these bills as they come through, right? Now, after that happens, after the approval by these appropriation committees in the House and appropriation committee in the Senate, then the bills have to go to the floor of the House and the Senate, where they may be amended again and debated and talked about. And eventually, the process is supposed to work where they're passed by each of the two chambers. And most times, the bills passed by the House and Senate differ, and then they have to work out their differences. They got to reconcile, and they got to reach across the aisle, so to speak, right? Democrat to Republican and Republican to Democrat. So after the funding bills have been negotiated, changed, moved, amended, and all that good stuff in both chambers, House chamber, Senate chamber, it has to go through the House and then it has to pass through the Senate, and then it has to be signed by the president. If Congress cannot agree on new funding levels by October 1st, the start of the fiscal year, every fiscal year for the federal government, then they have what they call a continuing resolution that they usually pass. Usually, right? A continuing resolution is required if all 12 of those funding bills are not funded and approved and passed by October 1st. Now, this is you ever heard of the power of the purse, right? Congress has the power of the purse, right? And they make the laws that legislate the purse, the money. And so if a CR, they call continuing resolutions, a CR, if it's not agreed upon while they work on, their budgeting and funding for those agencies, they shut the government down. And because of all of these different funding, now here's the deal, guys. They know this is happening. September 30th comes every single year on the same date. They know this is happening. And they still wait to the last minute quite often to really dig in and get it done. But it does take a while to do it because you got all these different bills that are, coming through and being passed, and they'll attach certain things to the bill, to whatever, their constituency wants to attach it in the, because do they all read every single bill? I don't know. I don't want to speak for any Congress members, but the other thing to note, since 1977, when this system that I just talked about was changed and amended and put in place, the system of budgeting and spending tax dollars, Congress has only passed all of its 12 appropriations 4 times, 4 years. So the continuing resolution, what they call a CR, the CR is normal. It's very abnormal for the Congress to actually pass all 12 of these funding appropriation bills every year on time. That's rare. It's only happened 4 times, right? 1996 and 97. I think it happened in the 70s and 80s one time as well. So 4 times in 40 some odd years. So continuing resolutions are the norm, right? And a continuing resolution is just a temporary extension. That's all it is. It's called continuing the resolution to allow the government to keep operating while no funding legislation is in place and those 12 funding bills have not been passed. I'm just giving you guys some background. And you say, well, why does he go on? I used to be a social studies teacher, in case you guys don't know. Before, 20 years before I was Smart Money Bro, I taught social studies and, geography at the middle school level. So I enjoy this stuff and I kind of know this stuff a little bit. So the CR is out there to provide sort of a stopgap, right, to keep the government open while they still work on these bills over the next couple of months into November and sometimes December. But the key is that money for important national priorities, emergency assistance, security, natural disasters, all of that stuff is usually attached to the CR, right? What they call like a short-term bill. So after the CR is passed, they go in there and they rush in for the next October, November, and or December, and they work on usually what they come out with, guys, is usually an omnibus bill. You might have heard the word omnibus, and that's really just an overall big bill that has all 12 of the appropriations for all those agencies in one bill, right? That's what an omnibus means. It means for all or something in I don't know, Greek or Latin or something, but it's where they take all these funding bills and they lop it into one big ginormous bill. And they usually pass an omnibus bill in October or November, or maybe even sometimes December. It just packages everything. So right now, as we stand right now, today, 4:44 my time, there has been a continuing resolution that was passed only in the Senate, but I don't even think it went to the House because they didn't think it would pass the House. So what's happening is there's a few Republicans in the House right now who are standing firm on their ground. A few Republicans on some key issues that the Republicans are these few Republicans, right, that they're standing firm on, and then the Democrats are standing firm on what they're proposing. And then the Democrats are saying, oh, those Republicans, they don't want to see Americans. They don't want to see Americans move forward and be able to pay their mortgages. And they have one guy who's leading them. Donald Trump is leading those guys, and he's telling them what to do, and they're his puppet. Then the Republicans on the other end are saying, wait a minute, we're not going to keep spending this money the way that, is bad for American people. We're doing our job. Hey, listen, who's right, who's wrong? You can judge for yourself. But I can say this, the primary thing that's holding everything up right now is really two issues, is border protection, right? That's what the Republicans are saying. We need some border protection because of all these crazy things that are happening at the border, and funding for Ukraine, right? So those are things that's kind of holding that. Those are the sticking points that they need to be in the room negotiating about right now. But last I checked, they were, having a hearing about Joe Biden, and then Joe Biden, I think, was dedicating something to John McCain's wife. There was some dedication going on, so they're doing other things right now, business as usual in D.C. But they really should probably be in a room hashing this out right now. But that's basically what's happening right now. I just wanted to give you guys first, before we jump deeper, I wanted to kind of give you an idea of what's taking place at the very moment. Now, the thing that we have to begin to think of as consumers, as Americans, even if you're not in America, maybe you have some interest in America, as investors, what are we going to be doing? Because this video is about the urgent warning to Americans and investors about our money and what we want to do in terms of money are going to be affected by this political stalemate, basically is what it is, to fund the government. So, and by the way, guys, let me say this before I go further. Tune in Saturday. I'm going to do a live on Saturday about how to pay for college the right way. It's going to be a grown-up, adult conversation about going to college the right way, debt-free. And I'm going to share a lot of things about what we did and what you can do to go to college the right way. So just do that, guys. Also in the description box, I'm partnering with Mint Mobile on this video. Look, everybody's walking around with a cell phone in their hand. This whole channel is about paying less money, spending less money. So you might just consider getting Mint Mobile, because you shouldn't have to pay $150, $200 a month for a cell phone plan. At Mint Mobile, they got premium wireless for as low as $15 per month. I use Mint Mobile. That's why I'm able to say, hey, this is something that's good for people, and let me bring this to people so they can save some money on their wireless. And you don't have to sacrifice speed or data or coverage, right? They use premium lines and 5G lines all throughout the country. They keep costs low because here's why Mint Mobile can do it for $15. It's because they don't pay the overhead of having stores or having salespeople. So so you can get a cheap, inexpensive plan, that doesn't cost a whole lot. They pass the savings on to us. So check that link out in the bottom in the description box. So who is going to be affected by this shutdown? Let's talk about who specifically. Yes, government workers will get back pay. Now, I've heard that quite a bit. Well, it's not going to be too bad because you guys that work for the federal government are going to get back pay. But don't forget, there's also contracted employees that aren't going to be working. And when I say contracted, it means that the federal government, yes, they hire people, but they also hire contractors to do government work as well, to help out and do some support work. Those people won't get pay, right, if the government shuts down. And just an FYI, if a shutdown occurs, I think I read that the first possible missed or incomplete paycheck would be on October 13th for federal workers. So I think you might get the next check depending on how your agency does it, but the one after that, you may not get. During a shutdown, another thing to think about, TSA, Transportation Security Administration, and air traffic controllers, they're going to remain working, right, to make the air traffic flow throughout the country be as, still flow as seamlessly as possible. So they'll be working. And TSA, I think, has 50 some odd thousand workers. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But they're all going to be required to work without pay. And I've read some reports that said, hey, back in 2018-19, we saw TSA workers who were walking off the job after not getting their check. So you got to be careful about what you hear on the news as well, because the way that CNN is going to report it might be a different way than Fox will report it. And CNN might talk about all these things to scare you. Fox may not do so. So you just got to be leery about where the source of your news is coming from and the bend or bent that may be on that source because of where it's coming, on that news because of the source that it's coming from. The other thing to keep in mind, certain passport offices, particularly those located inside of federal buildings, where you have a post office inside of a federal building, could close during a government shutdown. Now, the post office itself is going to stay open, but some services in federal government buildings may shut down, there may be, more of a backlog to get a passport, right, than there already is. Also, in terms of national parks, you got national parks that many of them are going to face closures, right? Unless I think governors of states can issue money to keep them open if they want, in terms of the national parks. But so some may remain open, some may not. Some of the visitor facilities and visitor centers and all those things may be closed. And then you're talking about, inspections by the EPA might be halted or delayed, right? So EPA might stop a lot of their inspections that they're having at water and chemical facilities. I've read a little bit about that also. Issuing permits, things like that. SBA also may have some backlog and things that may be affected that they won't be able to get to if the government shuts down. And then you read in one source, and they said, well, up to 10,000 children could lose access to Head Start because this federal. So, there could be a ripple effect. A lot of things could be affected. So if you say to yourself, I don't care, this doesn't affect me, I don't work for the federal government, well, there might be some services and things that you ultimately, could affect you, right? And so they also mentioned something about some contingency plans are being in place for some infants and women who receive WIC, right? It could dry up in a few days. But here's what I really want to stress to you guys that I think is really, really important, that is usually the fine print is tucked away in the back of the news story or at the bottom of the news story, but it's not emphasized in the headline that says government shutdown. But usually tucked away in the back of the story is this, guys. The vast majority of the government will continue to carry on as usual during a government shutdown, because all the federal government is not affected by the funds that are being negotiated in the House and Senate right now. Those 12 appropriation bills don't fund all of government, okay? Only about 27%, 30% of federal spending is what they call discretionary and requires annual approval by Congress. So there's a vast majority of other funding that's not coming from those 12 appropriation bills. But that's usually lost because at the very top or the bottom breaking news in red, government shut down. And so, but we got to also understand that everybody's not going to be affected. Some will, some won't, right? So the other thing is that, that other 1/3 or 1/4 of the government that's not going to be affected, a lot of them are considered mandatory. And so they're going to continue as usual. Things like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security payments are going to still go out. Like I said before, post office is still going to be happening. So just keep in mind, there's other government agencies that don't use the monies from those 12 funding strings or funding appropriation bills, and they'll be open. Now, the big one is, though, the military, right? Law enforcement and other accepted workers, they're going to still work, but they won't get paid. Keep that in mind. Like I said, with TSA, military. So there's about up to 4 million federal government workers, and I think 2 million of them are military. The other 2 million or more are civilian. So the other thing to keep in mind is the president and Congress members are going to continue to work, and they're going to continue to get paid during a shutdown. Believe it or not, right? They're going to still get paid, right? But unfortunately, they're in a position where they're making it not going to happen, and they're going to force other people not to get paid. Anybody that doesn't get paid is usually going to get, in that bill that ultimately gets passed, is going to get their back pay, right? I think back pay is actually a law that says any money that was lost by federal government employees is going to be recovered and paid back pay. I think that's a law. I'm not sure what year that came out. But then again, you have some staffers and so forth that work for those Congress folks that won't get paid. They'll be sent home and won't be paid. So again, guys, don't forget, I want to mention again, don't forget to get your 24 laws of money in the link below. We're going to go on and talk a little bit about the stock market and what we should be doing. But again, 24 laws of money, link in the description, is free. Two things you can do to help me out, guys. One, smash the like button. Okay, very important. Hit that like button. Actually, three things. Smash the like button. Share this video with people who kind of need to, hey, let me show you this breakdown of what's actually happening right now. And this guy is not a news guy. He's a money guy, but he knows a little bit about the government. Let me share this video with you. Share this video with some folks to get this information out. And subscribe if you're not a subscriber to the channel. Please do me a favor and consider subscribing. And be sure to turn your notifications on. So that was three things. And then again, tune in Saturday at 11 a.m. We're going to be talking about college and how to go to college debt-free. Grown-up conversation. All right, now, let me do this real quick, guys. Before we get into what are we going to do, let me just recap. Government's going to shut down 1201 October 1st. Conservative versus Democrat. That's what's happening right now. Conservatives, I want this stuff in the bill. Democrats, we're not going to put it in the bill. You made us a promise back back in the summertime. You promised us that if we raise the debt ceiling or what have you. So they're looking at old promises saying, Republicans, don't go back on your word, by the way. And Republicans are saying, hey, it's our job to fight for the American people to balance our budget, and we're going to balance our budget, right? So gamesmanship, politics, it's all what's going on. And, of course, the funding in Ukraine. Again, there's a House Speaker, McCarthy, who many folks didn't want in there in the first place, and he's asked to speak to the White House, and lots of stuff going on. Political theater is pretty much what it is. But, again, you got 2 million American workers, up to 2 million federal workers, and maybe even 2 million military folks that may feel the brunt of not being paid. All right, so let's talk about the stock market, okay? While this potential shutdown is not expected to have a lot of direct impact on the stock market, I have read a few reports that say it could be contributing a little bit to what we see happening in the stock market. Last few days in the stock market, we've seen a lot of red, right? S&P 500, we have 5% dip here and there over the last month or so. And by the way, let me say this about the month, because this is important to point out. In terms of stock market, September's the absolute worst month of all 12 months. It's usually the most weakest month in terms of the stock market, right? So just keep that in mind as well. This is not normal for the stock market to see a little bit of issues in September. But some experts are saying part of what we see going on with the federal government possible shutdown is maybe one of the reasons why we've seen an even weaker market in the last several weeks, as well as really the last several days, right? And so if you've been watching your investments, you kind of know what I'm talking about. A lot of the big blue chippers have been in the red recently. So that's just something to keep in mind. And let me say this, guys. Consumer confidence, there's a report coming out, I think tomorrow. There's a Michigan consumer confidence report that's coming out, and it's going to be down. They're looking at it to be down to a 4-month low. And that always makes a big difference. That's one of the things that people kind of slip on, is how people feel about the economy really matters in terms of their behavior in the economy, right? When people drive down the street and they see, what's the biggest thing they see on a billboard every single time they drive down the street? They see gas prices, right? And when they see things like gas prices going up, oh my goodness, and it starts to sway how they behave with their money, right? And so you got the auto workers on strike. You got higher inflation. I think CPI numbers, actually core PCE numbers are coming out maybe tomorrow. Is that right? Core PCE numbers. So there's two ways we measure inflation. CPI, which we call the headline inflation. That's the one you see on all the headlines, right? But we also see the core piece. We also want the core PCE inflation. The core PCE inflation gets rid of the volatile things. The two volatile things are energy, it goes up and down, big swings, and food, big swings up and down. So core PCE is the big one that the Federal Reserve really looks at more than the headline inflation numbers. And the core PCE is supposed to throw out the outliers that go up and down, food and energy, and it's supposed to be a broader measure. And so that's why the Fed uses that as the main measure. But they're expecting to see that. I think it was a 4.2% last month. I think they're going to see that. They're expecting 3.8 or 9. Don't quote me on that. Now, I think when those numbers come out, we'll see what happens. So inflation is going down slightly, right? Just keep that in mind. But the other thing people are seeing a lot right now is they're seeing the mortgage rates, right? Mortgage rates are up over 8% for 30-year fixed for the first time in a long, long time. I think they went over 8% for 30-year fixed. That's high. That's expensive money right there. That means it's expensive to borrow money. But keep in mind now, we know that mortgage rates aren't directly tied to the Fed raising the Fed funds rate, right? Mortgage rates are tied more to the bond market, of course. So, but all of these things that people are seeing with the strike for the UAW workers, 30-year fixed mortgages over 8%, possible government shutdown. There was some, I think there was, the House brought up some possible charges on the president's son or something, or the president's misuse of something yesterday. I mean, all these things look bad, and it causes some uncertainty and some nervousness and some fear, right? So, you know, including the stock market that we've seen in the red over the last few days, kind of reversing some of their earlier gains. You know, at the beginning of the year, guys, 2022, bad year for stocks. I think S&P was down, 17, 18, 16% or something. This year, up until recently, we were seeing 17, 18% gains in the market, right? If you were investing, you understand what I'm saying. So all these things happening, right? The Fed 2 weeks ago said, we're not going to raise the interest rates, but they signaled, right, to investors that another rate hike is coming, that may be coming here with the meeting at the end of October, I believe. So all of these things point to volatility, and it points to fear. But if you're a strong investor, now listen, hear me close, guys. This is the meat of what I talk about quite a bit on this channel. If you are a strong and serious investor with your money, and you're doing the right things with your money, right? We talk a lot about managing money properly, doing the right things with money, budgeting your money, taking care of your financial foundation in your home, right? Your four walls, saving money, lowering your expenses, doing all the right things with money, including investing at some point. But if you're a serious investor and you really want to grow money, not one of these institutional investors who are going to move money around from the bond market to this market to that market, and you got millions to play with. If you're just a serious investor, like a regular human being, an ordinary person, right? You'll see that when the market is down, it's an excellent time to go in there and be investing in the stock market, okay? Do not run from the market, the stock market, when things look down. When everybody else is panicking and you see, name the company, CVS, Walgreens, whatever, Costco, name the company, right? Alphabet, whatever, Amazon, Tesla. When you see these stocks go down, don't panic. Right? If you're just a regular investor like me and you, don't panic. Don't get nervous. Let's talk about some things, guys. Let's talk about some things we should be doing right now with all this volatility going on. Possible government shutdown, right? And all the things that we mentioned, right? Stocks taking a dip. What should we be doing right now as regular, ordinary investors who want to build some wealth, right? Right? Wealth is made, a lot of wealth is made in trying times when there's problems and issues. But you just have to go against your natural inclination to panic, right? If you're an investor, don't get nervous. Don't panic when you see the red ticker symbols going across. Oh, the stock market may be crashing. Okay, don't panic, because that's a win for you. That's a win for you. Don't get scared, right? You need to continue to invest dollar cost average into paper assets, right? When I say paper assets, I don't mean real estate. I mean stocks, bonds, etc., right? Don't be dumping your stocks when things look bad, right? Don't sell off your stocks at the bottom and sell your stocks low, right? You don't sell low, you sell high, right? But panic and fear is going to cause you to do the exact opposite of what you should be doing as an investor, right? Investors buy low and sell high. They don't buy low and sell low or buy high and sell low. People go against the grain of what they should be doing in trying times like this when they say, oh man, there's a recession coming. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? Right? I have, $300,000. I have $150,000. I have $700,000. What do I do? You keep investing is what you do. You don't change. You don't quit. You don't pull out. You don't get nervous. You don't go hide your money under the mattress because you're going to make a lot of money when stocks are on sale. So you buy the dips, right? When stocks are on sale. All right? Shutting down the government damages Americans' finances. I get it with regard to the other thing. Let me just say this. Let me go backwards and say this. What we see happening with the shutting down of the federal government, it kind of puts a damper on the way America looks to the rest of the world and to America's credit worthiness, right? If you look at the global bond markets, right, we already saw that in the summertime. Okay, let me just say this. Just like we have Experian, Equifax, and what's the other one? TransUnion. Just like we have those three credit agencies that look at our credit, there's three agencies that look at every single federal government's credit rating, credit worthiness, right? Standard & Poor, Fitch, and I can't remember the third one. But back in the summertime, Fitch, one of those credit rating agencies that measure the credit worthiness of each country in the world, name a country, UK, Brazil, keep going, Sri Lanka, Nigeria, France, we can go around the globe, China, all of those countries, they have a credit rating. And so those credit rating agencies, one of them, Fitch, downgraded U.S.'s credit rating, right? And one of the reasons that they cited for why they downgraded U.S.'s credit rating was this political theater, this mismanagement and dysfunction of how, the politics or how America's manages its money, with the incredibly high, not trade deficits, but the incredible high, what am I trying to say? The 30 trillion, 31 trillion. Help me, guys. So you get what I'm saying, right? In other words, the fiscal policies of America is having an issue, right? And they see that. The credit rating agencies, they see that, right? And they saw that, and that's one of the reasons that they said, we're going to downgrade America. Now, I think Standard & Poor downgraded America back in 2011, 2012 or so. So in 2023, this summer, that was the second downgrade we had. But they cited the dysfunction, right? So the Treasury bond market, keep your eye on that. I'm no bond expert. Don't want to go too deep into that. But just pay attention to consumer confidence that's coming out in a report. I think it's coming out tomorrow. But that consumer confidence is going to make a big difference on what happens to consumer spending moving forward. And it just so happens that what are we moving forward into in the next 2 months? Holiday season, which holiday season usually represents what? Spending season. People are going to spend more money, or supposed to spend more money coming up in November, December for the Christmas holidays, right? So it'll be interesting to see if the spending patterns of Americans reflect all of these issues going on that we see. And maybe in the fourth quarter of this year, now remember, we measure GDP in quarters. Quarter one, January through March. Quarter two, April through the next, right? Quarter four is October, November, December. We measured in quarters. The GDP this fourth quarter, it may take a hit because of all these issues going on and some fear and some loss of consumer confidence. So keep that in mind again, guys. Don't forget, smash this like button and share the video. So now let's talk about what we should be doing. All right, let's talk about what we should be doing. And again, don't forget, guys, Saturday, tune into this channel. We're going to be talking about how to go to college debt free. Click the Mint Mobile link down in the description box below for cell phone plans as low as $15 a month. What should we be doing with our money? As we said, keep investing. I like the dollar cost average. And if you're investing in single stocks, that's cool too. I'm not a big single stock guy. I love investing in index funds, like those better. Let me turn that mic down a little bit. You guys let me know if you can hear me all right. So let me go back before I dig deep into that. Let me go back and look at some of the comments. I see Natalie says she's a GS employee out of Delville, Alabama. Las Vegas is in the house. So let me see. Man, I might need to get a moderator in these comments, guys. Let's see. Somebody said, yes, close the borders and no federal funds. Somebody said mass homelessness. Good evening from Richmond, Virginia. How you doing, Jamil? So meanwhile, boom, 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 buy low. Just kind of looking at some of you guys' comments. It's okay to keep her going in the comments, guys. And I'll look at the comments a little later here in just a bit. But again, dollar cost average. I'm not a big single stock guy, but if you love single stocks, great. And if you have single stocks, make sure you have a whole bunch of them. Don't just have 5 of them. If you want to have 5 blue chips, that's fine. But I would say have 20 or 30 or 40 or more, right? That way you kind of spread your risk around a little bit. And then, of course, if you're buying stocks or looking to invest right now, feel free to get into it. Just don't panic. Don't get scared. Don't get nervous. See the panic around you as a buying opportunity. Stay in the market, all right? And also, I always tell people this. Keep building up your cash. Keep building up your emergency money. I'm not saying cash to have cash. If you got $150,000 cash laying around, you probably don't need that much cash laying around, right, for an emergency fund. Just keep enough cash for emergencies, right? 3 to 6 months is what the standard is. 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses. But stay away from the news and the breaking news, right? Kind of chill out with that just a little bit, because that's going to scare the living daylights out of you if you're not careful, right? And sometimes the scare is driven by an agenda, right? If you're on a news station, they're pushing an agenda and they're going to scare you one way. You turn to the other news station or news feed, and they're pushing a different agenda, so they're going to scare you the whole different way, right? It's all political theater. Just be careful about that. Don't let that affect your money decisions based on where you're going. Stay steadfast where you are, right? Again, the panic, the problems, the dips represent opportunities for you. And speaking of scammers, guys, always ignore these scammers. When you look at my videos in the comment section, you'll always see a scammer. I try to scrub through that, but depending on how many views that I can't get to every single comment, but there's scammers out there. Ignore the scammers, right? Watch out for people trying to sell you get rich this and get rich that. I talk to people all the time that tell me, yeah, somebody told me that. Don't fall for that stuff. All right. So let me just kind of look back at here, guys. Fitch, Moody's, Standard & Poor. That's right. Moody's is the one I forgot. Thanks for throwing that in there. I appreciate that. Just looking at a few of what you guys are saying in the comments here. Boom, boom. Hey, from Chicago, south side, north side, west side of Chicago. Good afternoon, North Carolina. First time catching live. Glad to have you here, Tony. Appreciate it. I'm here. I'm a regular guy helping. I'm a regular, ordinary dude helping other people be extraordinary with their money, right? That's all I'm here for. By the way, guys, starting a membership site as well. I used to give free 15-minute phone calls. I get so many of them nowadays that I just can't do them. But I will give a free 15-minute phone call. Not free, but I will give a 15-minute phone call if you join our membership site. I'm going to be doing them for those folks on a regular monthly basis for 15 minutes or so. I like to talk a lot, so sometimes that goes 20 minutes. But so that's kind of what I'm doing right now. You guys might check that out if you want to join this channel. We talk money. We talk money management. We talk, budgeting. We talk personal finances, and we talk U.S. economy, because what happens in the economy trickles down to us, right? You ever been working a job and the owner or the head person says, we need to start doing this. Next thing you know, your manager is saying we need to do this, and then your supervisor is saying it, and then your team lead is saying it, right? All these layers in between, right? So, we want to kind of cut out those layers, and but that does happen. All right. Meanwhile, can we same for crypto? All right. Crypto, buy low. Yep. Angie said buy low. Ocean said hold cash, stocks, and crypto and ammo. Okay. I'm not mad at you. cash. Yeah, you can get some high yield savings accounts right now, guys, that are paying pretty well right now. Deficit was the word I was looking for. Thanks, Jose. I appreciate it. Yeah, 31 trillion. We had a $31.4 trillion deficit. I think it got boosted up when we raised the debt ceiling in the summer up to 32, 34. We raised the debt ceiling. So there was a promise back then. Democrats today, right now, are saying, hey, Republicans, hold to your promise that you made back in the summertime. Mommy Trader, good to see you in here. How you been doing? Hope all is well. Definitely buying less this Christmas season. Absolutely. Tell the kids that you ain't spending that much, right? I got more words for those kids on this Saturday, this upcoming Saturday live that I'm going to do about student loans. So stay tuned for that, because we're going to have some adult talk about how not to pay a boatload of money for college. Some people, RJ said, I'm not spending this holiday season. LD said, I'm a contractor. We'll be getting paid. Most contracting companies are paid in advance. True, LD, what you're saying is true, but depending on what you're contracting with the federal government, if you're a contractor, and let's say you're on a construction contract, because I managed construction contracts for many years for the federal government, there's going to be some contractors, depending on how your job is funded, that may end up not continuing work. There may be some type of stop work order for some contractors doing government work in the middle of a shutdown. So some will keep working, depending on how what you're doing is being funded is really what it matters. Because you may, I don't want to dig too deep into that. That's going to be beyond the scope of this of this live. But some will get paid, some won't. I'm glad you will get paid though, LD Sims. That's for good. Virtual IT, you're in Netherlands. Fantastic. Glad to have you, man. All the way from Netherlands, smart, in Texas. All right, scammers are everywhere. Watch out for them. Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Michelle said, "Good afternoon. The ebook is great. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's a free ebook, guys, no charge, and it's in the description box. 24 laws of money that help me go from negative to a really good positive right now." Mickey's in South Africa. All right. Glad to have you here, Mickey. Thanks. Somebody said, what's better, mutual funds or ETFs? I'm an ETF guy, but, mutual funds are fine. ETFs are sort of a mutual fund, but I'm an ETF guy. Not a big mutual fund because I don't like paying the extra fees that may sometimes be associated with mutual funds. I don't want to pay for somebody to manage it. I'd rather have it to be not managed, like an index fund. Amin said from UK, never done stocks before. You can start by checking out the Google Vanguard or Google Fidelity and start reading as much as you can about investing on those brokerage at those brokerage firms. Hello from St. Louis. How you doing? Good to have you. Go Cardinals, right? I'm Royals, so we're right down the way from you. Debt ceiling, debt will never be paid off. Perhaps not. And that's part of what some of the Republicans are talking about with this government shutdown. Hey, a lot of them are saying this. We're just trying to do what the American people put us up here to do, is try to balance the budget and not pay a bunch of money to the Ukraine and make sure we do the borders. That's what the Republicans are saying. And you can fall on whatever side of the aisle you want to fall on there. I'm not taking a side. Appreciate you, John, for hanging in there and being with me on these live streams. Did I invest money back in the late 80s? No, D. Grant. But in 1989, I was 19 years old. I wasn't investing anything. I was trying to spend as much money as possible. I didn't get into the game until the 90s, late 90s. Oklahoma City checking in. Terrence said, not spending a dime. Listen, I think a lot of people are at the point where they're looking at their money and saying, you know what? This holiday season, this Christmas, I'm going to chill out a little bit. I'm going to sit all the kids down right now in October and tell them everybody gets one toy. And that toy got to be under $30, whatever you want to do, right? But that's probably a good idea, a good thing to do. So what would happen to the economy if the deficit is paid off? It would look really good. Whichever political party did that, they would be in charge for quite a long time because that would be really hard to do. So, Mickey, thank you so much. I'm glad I could help you. And then somebody says, stop giving money to the Ukraine. So, hey, guys, let me see. Do you guys have any questions for me? I can do a quick Q&A and kind of go through this thing if you guys want to have a question or two about what we should be doing. Because the gist of this entire live today is me giving you guys a warning to say, listen, it looks like there's going to be a possible shutdown. But I wanted to go through all the background to show you, hey, everybody won't be affected. And here's exactly what happens. There's 12 bills out there, appropriation bills, to fund a lot of the government. Not all of the government, right? A lot of things operate in the government that don't deal with those 12 funding strings or funding appropriation bills. And those 12 bills need to go through and get passed. And now we're at the point with only 2 days to go. We may not have time to send it all the way through. And it probably won't work because you're getting to the very last hour. And typically what happens, it's only happened 4 times in 40 some odd years that all 12 of them have been funded, right? And so what happens now is they usually put together a CR. Keep in mind, there's been a CR that was agreed to by the Senate yesterday. The Senate came out and gave a press conference in the afternoon yesterday and said, hey, we've come up with a CR. We've agreed to a CR, continuing resolution. But they know that won't pass in the House. And so the Speaker of the House has to make a decision if he wanted to bring that before the House. And here's the other issue that I really haven't talked a lot about because it's politics and it's deep into politics. But the Speaker of the House really has 2 choices: to bend and try to do something for the Democrats. If he does that, then the Republicans in the House will turn around and probably boot him out and try to vote to get him out as Speaker, because a lot of them didn't want him in there as Speaker of the House anyway. A month or 2 ago, 2 or 3 months ago. So, or he can capitulate and to the hard-nosed Republicans and try to. So he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. It's a lot of political theater is what's happening right now. And unfortunately, there's going to be military personnel that'll be working and can't be paid. Isn't that interesting, right? Military people, families, can't pay their rent, can't buy food. Hopefully, if they have an emergency fund, they can. But if they can't get paid because these guys are going back and forth. These ladies and men are going back and forth. The lawmakers, that's Congress, right? So something to think about there. Let's see if you guys got a few questions for me here. Let me thumb through. Will BRICS, oh man, before I get to that one, somebody said, will BRICS destroy the dollar as a reserve currency? I don't know. I just don't know. I'm going to do a live about the BRICS at some point because that's going to affect our money and the dollar as well because of what they're putting forth as perhaps a reserve. Right now, the dollar is the standard. The dollar is the reserve currency around the world, and it will be for the next several years. You don't have to worry about that. At some point, though, as the BRICS nations grow and you have other countries applying to get into that organization, it may cause some bigger issues. Right now, though, the dollar is fairly strong, although it's losing. We know it's losing its value every day, and it's losing its oomph. But for now, it is the reserve currency throughout the world. So yeah, I don't want to keep going back into some of the things that I talked about with everybody. James, currently in Kansas City. All right, good to have you, James. Looking to start a real estate investing here in Kansas City. And in Dallas, looking forward to learning more. Hey, James, I can help you. Follow this channel. I got 90-something videos about real estate on this channel. All right. I got a playlist. I don't talk a whole lot about real estate anymore, but every now and then I'll talk a little bit about it because that is a part of investing. I told you guys earlier, make sure you keep investing in the stock market. If you're looking to buy real estate, keep investing. Remember, rates are high. 30-year mortgages over 8%. And so your rates are high right now, right? You're paying more money to borrow money. You're paying more to borrow money right now. But, you can always refi if you really find a great deal and so forth. So there's always deals out there. So what advice would I give someone who is currently unemployed and is not having any luck getting a job? Keep looking. Here, let me give you 2 pieces of advice. Keep looking. Take a step back if you have to take a step back. In other words, you might have a master's degree, but if you have to go do something to feed a family, go do something to feed a family. Don't get too prideful that you say, I got a master's degree. I can't find a job because nothing that no, don't do that. Go get a job. And if you got a master's degree, go get that job that's below your master's degree and go ahead and become the manager there because you work so hard, you stay late, you come early, you stay late, you learn all the processes, you treat everybody well, you smile, and you bring value to that job, and now all of a sudden 3 or 4 months later, 6 months later, you're the manager and you're making what you thought you were going to make. So go get a job, even if you have to take a step back. Sometimes when you get employed, you got to go backwards to go forward. Nothing wrong with that at all. All right. But the other thing is, make sure you have skills, right? Up your skills, right? Maybe spend this time to up your skills, and also maybe spend this time figuring out what you do well that you could also start your own business and do on the side while you look for a job. Okay, but the key is don't give up, don't quit, don't give up, don't quit, don't let pride get in your way, right? Sometimes you may have to take. I've had to take jobs where I took a step down before I could go up. Nothing wrong with that at all. The key is keep trying, keep moving forward. Don't give up on yourself. Don't quit on yourself. And it's a numbers game. Put in 100 applications this weekend, right? Send your resume out on LinkedIn to 200 different people this weekend. It's a numbers game when you get to a desperate level. I hope I answered that well. Question: I'm trying to set up stock account with Webull, and they're asking for automatic account access, which I have to grant. Is that a safe? I think Webull is pretty safe. Okay, there's a lot of users on Webull, Robinhood, all those. I think they're safe. Now, I'm not a Webull guy. I don't sponsor Webull. This video is a partnership with Mint Mobile because I use them. I don't use Webull. And I believe in, I sponsor, or not sponsor, but I partner with companies that I believe in. But I've heard that Webull is okay and fine. I like the big ones. I like the big brokerage firms, right? I like the Fidelities and the Vanguards and so forth. But your preference, I don't like to do it on apps and stuff like that, right? I like to get on a laptop. All right, thanks for all your information. Amazing motivation. Yeah, you can do it, Naomi. Boom. That's what it's all about, encouraging and inspiring, and there's enough out here for all of us. John said, for those not affected heavily by this government shutdown, what % of disposable income should we save versus invest? It depends on your own personal situation, to be honest with you, John. You need to have as big a cushion as possible between your expenses and your income, because that's the cushion that you're going to be using to get out of debt, pay off emergency money, invest with, right? Have that big cushion. And I don't usually use a percentage, okay? I like doing zero-based budget, where all your money is spent. Whatever that cushion is, and you want to decipher it up to where you want to go, use that money to invest with. And then make sure you have a savings. I do say this. Try to have a full 3 to 6 months of savings, right? Try to expedite that so you have that already up front. I'm not the guy that says don't invest money at all before you. No, I don't say that. You can invest a small percentage, 3%, 5%, maybe if you have a job that matches. Get the match. Always get the match. Don't stop the match. Tara McCrary. Good. All right. Shout out to you, Tara. Good to have you in here. Appreciate you being here. Zach, what's better, REITs or real estate ETFs? It depends. REITs are going to, depending on what they're investing in. Some REITs are great. They're investing in malls. They're investing in, commercial buildings. Let me tell you what I see a lot of right now in real estate. I see a lot of these industrial buildings going up, usually on the outskirts of a city, right? In the suburbs of a city. I see these big old gigantic industrial buildings where, you can have tenants in those buildings, right? So I see a ton of those right now. If you can find some REITs that are investing in those right now, that might be a good deal. BRICS nations can't come to an agreement. Yep, we'll see what happens with that. Appreciate your advice. Thanks. You're welcome, RJ. Anytime. Don't let pride get in the way. You ain't lying. All right, here's the deal, guys. I'm going to come to a close at that on this live. I do lives 2 times a week. I do a live on Thursdays, and I do a live on Saturday mornings at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time. Usually Thursdays are 4:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I may do another live, though, if something breaks on this government shutdown, because I want to keep you guys posted on what's going on. Sometimes, even on YouTube, you go to one channel, and they're leaning one way. You go to another channel, and what are they doing? They're leaning a whole nother way. So you get all this biased information, and it's hard to really decipher. I'm not on either side. The side I'm on is the ordinary human being in America who has money and wants to grow that money, the ordinary person that wants to be extraordinary with their money. That's the side I'm on. I'm on the green side, right? And just to say, I understand what both sides are doing, but you come to this channel, I'm not going to lean one way or the other. I'm going to try to lean in your favor to help you do what's best for you with your money, given the current situation and things that's going on. So if there's an update to what's going on with the government shutdown, I'm going to try to bring it to you. If I see something that I think is important that you need to know in terms of your money, I'm going to try to bring it to you. Okay. Because I'm not about one side or the other. I'm all about us. The people that are stuck in the middle, that are bearing the brunt of bad decision making or indecision or dysfunction at higher levels. So that's kind of what I'm all about. Again, get your free copy of the 24 Laws of Money in the description box. Check out Mint Mobile, all right? $15 plans for a cell phone because they cut out the middleman. Mint Mobile gets rid of the retail stores, gets rid of the salespeople. What's the biggest expense that any business has? It's labor. So if you can get rid of the salespeople, you can start to, have some savings and pass that savings on. And that's what they do at Mint Mobile. And that's why I like what they do. And they offer great service. You're talking about their services over the best lines in the country, premium lines for 5G. So it's not like you're going to get a hit and get bad service or bad cell phone usage and so forth. That's not going to happen with Mint Mobile. So check out that link below too. I'm a user of them as well. And also join our channel, guys. If you join our channel, you're going to have access to me one-on-one once a month. If you join the highest level of our channel. If you don't join the highest level, I'm going to give you shout outs, and we're going to do private videos only for members where we go behind the scenes and, we look at my personal situation in terms of money, and we dig much deeper, do live coaching and stuff like that. So all those things are in the works, guys. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Over the last couple months, and you might check my channel. I did a video on this, and I want you guys to understand, over the last couple of months, this channel has grown tremendously. And I think a lot of the growth is due to the fact that, I appreciate you guys, and I let you guys know that this channel wouldn't be anything without you guys. So I appreciate you guys showing me all of the great comments you guys make. I do read, honestly, call me weird, but I still read about 90%, 80% of all the comments I can get to. It's difficult with so many, but I appreciate you guys. Share this video with somebody who could use this information in a practical way. Right? Helping ordinary people be extraordinary with their money. As I always say, guys, the best person who's going to take care of that old you, the 60, 70, 80-year-old you, is the young you, right? Guys, do me a favor. Take care of yourself and take care of other people. Until the next video, peace.